Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is Go Again, a fabulous video cast covering the trading card game Flesh and Blood. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Andrew with you here as always. Tonight I'm here with Dane from the Outcast Haven, and tonight we are discussing Blitz versus Classic Constructed. Hey folks, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. Hope your week's been going good. You've been getting some games in. So tonight I'm here with Mr. Dane from the Outcast Haven. And before he goes and introduces himself, I want to say I'm actually very, very excited about tonight. Dane and I've interacted quite a bit, and he does a really good job kind of doing point counterpoint. So I'm very, very excited about tonight's little mini debate. So how's it going, man?
Good. Super excited. Love the concept that you came up with for this discussion. Appreciate the point counterpoint call out, because my friend group and the guys over at the Outcast Haven usually just give me grief for it. So it's nice to hear that someone appreciates me playing devil's advocate. But no, I do. If you can't tell from like the description or anything in this video, we are going to cover something that is a little bit more divisive, but definitely excited to talk a little more in depth about it, because I feel like with how hard-headed our group can be, we maybe come off a little strong one direction versus the other, and it's why I serve as that counterpoint, or try to. So excited for the opportunity to clarify sort of where we stand and get a little more into the weeds on it.
Sure. Well, I think, like you said, like last week, this will go up after your Friday cast, so, it was well over a week ago. You guys kind of touched on it at the beginning of your episode as well, but, it's been a pretty, I don't know if it's been a hot topic, but it's been kind of a underlying topic, I think, in the community over the last, several weeks. I've seen a lot more comments about, CC is the way to go. Some of the, it's the gaming community, so it is what it is, right? But, anything from, well, in my expert opinion, I think CC's the better because to F this, blah, 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 right? Because, again, we're gamers, right? So, I think what we wanted to do tonight was really discuss the pros and cons of both formats. And I don't even know if we're going to walk away with a conclusion, because I think everyone's going to make their own conclusion. But really kind of, I wanted to get your feeling on, all the stuff we're going to talk about the two formats, where you think the future lies, and maybe the future doesn't have to lie in either one.
I think, that's a really good point, that there isn't going to be, really the conclusion is, or should be, that it's whatever game you enjoy playing and what's available where you're at. I think the question that we're going to be asking, or at least the question that I ask, is what do I want to see officially supported, or have there be more incentive from the company to play? Because I think that will drive the competitive scene. And I think the competitive scene is where what the company supports really matters. So when we're talking, if we've talked down on Blitz, it's like, it's not as a format. It's not as like, oh, you play Blitz, you're scum, or anything like that. It's literally just what we want to see supported by the company, because that's the game that we want to be playing, and we want to be playing it competitively. And a lot of the incentive for competitive play comes from the company, prize support, like what's put on officially as far as like sanctioned events. So that type of thing is where our drive and desire to talk up Classic Constructed comes from. So important to note that.
No,
but really, whatever you enjoy playing, play it, have fun. Blitz is a blast, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you make a very, I mean, it is a valid point. If the next, 20 callings or whatever are all going to be classic constructed, I mean, I think the community will find itself there in one way or the other. But on the flip side, I'm jumping all over our points already, but on the flip side, we just had all these super sweet Blitz decks released, which are an amazing product. I mean, they're an amazing product. And that's I think why I wanted to kind of have this conversation is I think the timing of a lot of this conversation is really not ideal from a community standpoint, because we just got all this huge influx of cards, huge influx of people. We have this really sellable, approachable product, and now they're logging into Facebook pages for the first time and they're seeing the F Blitz comments. And I don't know how that really makes us as a community look. So what do you think about that?
I mean, it's the internet. I feel like if you're logging into Facebook or checking out the Twitter sphere, wherever you're getting your fab content, if you're checking it out and you are like appalled that someone has a strong opinion, it's like, okay, well, it's the internet. Everyone's got strong opinions about something, and there's no filters. So I think that you got to take that with a grain of salt a little bit. I do think that if it starts to become super prevalent, like every other post, like to the level that box opening videos or stuff was prevalent on the Facebook page in like February-ish of this year, that's a point where we need to cut that back. We need to like make sure that the Facebook page, the community centers are trimmed down and curbed to the fact that there are going to be new people coming into the game, because it is a really good time to come into the game, especially the fact that their Blitz decks, like you said, are such a good value that that's what a lot of people's entry point is going to be. So them coming on and seeing those comments like that, yeah, I think a comment here or there is easy enough to ignore, but if it starts to become too much of an issue, then yeah, something's going to need to be said or done to make sure we're not deterring players. But yeah, I really hope we haven't deterred players. I feel like if you watched like the podcast that kind of got hit on for being down on Blitz, if that was your first like fab experience, super sorry. Blitz is fine. So if you found your way back to this video because you're like the Outcast, or sorry, can I swear?
Yeah, well, we can Utini it, no problem.
Okay. Screw the Outcast, like I gotta check out Dice Commando. I heard he's got good stuff. And then I'm here too. I apologize, but no, I think that it's not an issue right now, but could be.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I just wanted to get your ping on that. And I mean, you have a very valid point of it is the internet, and you have to grow some hair on your chest. You're not going to last very long anyway, right? So,
right.
Yeah, especially in a gaming Facebook or Discord or whatever. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and hit kind of my first point of the gameplay aspect of it. And I guess maybe the easier way to kind of go in this conversation is really kind of lay out my personal thesis on it overall, and then maybe you can actually, that's the way to do it. I'll lay out my thesis kind of overall, and then you can kind of counterpoint me as we go through the various topics, right? So my overall thesis is that I truly believe that Classic Constructed is the better game in terms of from a functional standpoint. Classic Constructed is the better game. It's a better executed game. However, I think my preferred format at the moment is Blitz, because of the kind of the community ease and community building aspect of it. And it's a lot easier for me. I mean, who knows what the world's going to look like post-pandemic in terms of game stores. But, I know that we used to have we had a 3-hour slot on Saturday at our game store where I could have run an event, right? It used to be our old Argent slot, and now I'm taking that slot. And I don't have time to run a full-on Classic Constructed tournament, right? But I could run a Blitz tournament. So, and I'm not saying, that 3-hour slot's all I have, then that's the answer. But my point is, from a store standpoint, where you've got Friday Night Magic, Tuesday role-playing, X-Wing Thursdays, whatever it may be, right? You may not have an 8-hour slot to run a CC event. So from a community building standpoint, at least to get your foot in the door to store, it may be more approachable from that standpoint. So that's why I say I truly believe that CC is the better game. Like, in my opinion, I don't really think there's a huge debate there, to be honest with you. But I mean, you could debate it, I guess. But I think that Yeah, I mean, well, I know you. I'm just saying, from one watching, I don't want to, X you out, because I mean, again, LSS did just release a whole set in Crucible of War that, granted, you can't get right now, but they released a whole set basically functioned around Blitz. So I mean, it's there's 6 one way, half a dozen. Anyway, I've been talking for too long, but I just kind of wanted to throw my position out there that CC I think's the better game, but there's a lot of functional advantages to Blitz, if that makes sense.
Yep, totally makes sense, and I agree with that. So CC is that is Flesh and Blood. That's the game that it was designed to be, right? So you're gonna get more balanced gameplay, just the ability to not get blown out. Like we were just talking tonight, the fact that think of how much of a difference 6-card sideboard would make to the Blitz meta. Whether or not that is a good idea or not, set that aside. But just think about the difference that would make, and that shows you how RNG, or like the fact that it's a static 40 cards that you have to bring to every matchup, that really kind of horse blinders what can be run. So and any format where that is the case, I think is inherently not going to be the best format. So I think that there is a huge advantage to Blitz, and like you said, the ability to ease people into the game with Blitz, and the fact that we are growing so much right now so quickly, and there's lots of opportunities, especially with the product that's been put out, what's available right now. Being able to just knock out like a Blitz tournament makes total sense, and I see the viability of it, and that it's supported, right? I think the thing that we're pushing CC so hard right now for, or the reason that we are, is that we haven't seen much of the company backing CC, like classic constructed CC, until these callings, right? So this calling is the first like classic constructed LSS sanctioned tournament that we've seen since, God, I don't even know. I can't even think
the
of
last one, maybe. I mean,
right.
since probably Crucible came out and Blitz became, or maybe since the Blitz announcement, which was almost a year ago at this point, ish.
Yeah, it would have been the last calling. I think was the last like classic constructed event that was like reported on. So just having something to look forward to for classic constructed, for what the game is supposed to be, I think has driven a lot of our hype behind the format. But I'm not saying like stop supporting Blitz, because it is a great entry point, and it is super fun to get people to sit down. And if you got those 3 hours, Blitz might be more feasible to new players. I think that another reason that we might dig our heels in a little bit when talking Blitz versus classic constructed is a lot of the arguments that we have had with people about the two formats. The arguments that they pitched us as the reason why Blitz is better aren't valid if you're practiced or if you've been playing the game. Like the time for playing, like the time allotment, I only give you the 3 hour thing, like run Blitz in the 3 hours, because of new players, people that are learning and teaching. You don't want every game going to time, because you have to take 2-minute turns to like explain to them how the pitch works, and that you play the card and then pitch, like that type of stuff. Run Blitz, it's faster, less life, you just don't have to deal with as much. So I think that, I mean, I agree with you. Functionally, Blitz makes more sense for new players and growing the community, but CC is the game. So we are hyping that up because we want to play it, and we want to see LSS support a lot more of the CC competition.
Yeah, sure. Well, and I mean, some of the other arguments that are out there in terms of I want Blitz are, some of them are better than others. The one that I think falls apart now, I don't think it did a couple months ago, when even if you had infinite money, you couldn't buy the cards you wanted, right? That it's harder to build decks. Now the Unlimited's really circulating around. I think Blake said it the other night when we were playing on your live stream. It was, if you're telling me that you can't afford the third set of card, but you're sitting there with a skull cap on the table, that argument kind of falls apart. And that's a hard argument to go against. I get on board with that one. But again, 6 months ago, you literally couldn't find the third copy of a card. So that's a different. I think that's maybe changing. And then I was maybe even thinking about it too much from the retailer standpoint in terms of finding the space, but you're going to attract a very different person who has to spend, because you were talking about the speed of the games, and as we get into larger and larger if it's just you and me meeting at the bar, we can jam a bunch of games in 3 hours in terms of Classic Constructed. But whenever you're running a larger tournament, you're always hamstrung by the slowest person at the tournament, and generally you're going to have a game that goes to time. So it's a much bigger sell to know that, like, see, I'm a father, I've only got 3 hours during the day, I can go commit to that, versus I have to go commit an entire Saturday. You're going to get a very different type of person. By and large, you're going to get a different type of person at those type of events. Whereas I think that's why it works at a calling, is because you can be like, well, hey babe, this is November 10th, I'm going to New Zealand and I'll be gone all weekend. Or I'm going to Las Vegas or whatever, I'll be gone all weekend. That's a lot better sell than like, hey, I'm going to be gone for 8 hours every Saturday. Right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a totally fair point too. No, I think it is just so let me follow that up with a question of my own. When you say that you're looking at it from a retailer perspective, you're just looking about like time slots for playing. Like like what they have available, like, or what they're going to give to this game. Like if they're looking at giving a slot to
they're limited by table space, right? You only have so many tables, and there's the weeknight versus weekend, right? It's like, well it seems to us it seems so cut and dry. Well, we'll just run Blitz on Tuesday night and then we'll run Classic Constructed on Saturday. Well, of course, but they have so many events they need to support, and there's tables. Not every store has infinite tables.
You're right.
So that's because we as players have a partnership with our stores. So I really think that, I think the LSS supporting both formats was smart. Or I should say formally supporting both formats was smart. However, you guys have talked about this as well, and this is kind of my next point that I wanted to go into, is I think what we're seeing is that from a community building standpoint, it's good to get new players in, but we're also causing a divisiveness, not necessarily in a conflict way, but you guys are mentioning, well, we had a meetup and we wanted to go play Classic Constructed, but 2/3 of the people showed up and they didn't even have CC decks, and I do think that's a problem, right?
Yeah, and I think that I don't know if it's a problem. I think that
it's an issue.
Any person that is a halfway decent person is not going to get upset by that. Like at that meetup that we were talking about, right? We had Random Sunday. We just had 16 guys basically show up and say, yeah, we've got free time on a Sunday, let's play some games. And we wanted to play Classic Constructed because that's what we're really focused on right now. But yeah, 2/3 of them just brought CC decks or just had the decks that they picked up, the Blitz decks, pre-con. And we played CC into them and, just grabbed another pre-con and played with them and taught them the ropes. Like, we're excited for Classic Constructed. We're not assholes. Like we're not bad people. I don't think that the division, if you are on the Facebook page and you see people that are like digging their heels in, Classic Constructed sucks, Blitz sucks, like probably a lot more likely that you see the Blitz sucks comments. That is not the community as a whole. And that like if you're a new player, please ignore that stuff, because that's someone who is tired of getting Kano'd to death. And they're not thinking about the fact that, a Blitz can be a really fun format, especially for teaching a bunch of new people how to play a much more simple version of the game prior to 80 cards in your deck, what you got to sideboard in, what you got to think about. Like, those decision trees are taken out, made very simple in a nice cut and dry package. So yeah, if you see those comments, just disregard them, because Blitz is fun, and have fun.
Yeah, and you know what? To be fair, I may have done a disservice there on calling it divisive, because I know that has an aggressive overtone. I suppose more what I meant was it puts a divide. I don't know what a better word right now. Sorry, I'll pull out my thesaurus later.
Fair. But I would say divisive. I would say that it is, but what it is what it's dividing is a very small. It's it's like very small. You got the big fab community, and you got two small pockets on each side that are just like choosing to be dicks about their opinions. It's like, I think Classic Constructed's better. Fuck Blitz. I think Blitz is better. Screw Classic Constructed. And the rest of the community is like, dude, we really don't care. We just want to play. Like, we're excited for this or that. But yeah, I think it's just the.
Yeah, I just think functionally, like you mentioned, you know, you had some whatever percentage, you had some subset show up and they didn't even have the other decks, right? Well, you know, what happens then when you do, let's say everyone's dream, Fab becomes, you know, the best game in the, you know, the most supported game in the world, whatever, and we have multiple tournaments per week. Well, what happens if your 24-person Fab community is split down the middle? Instead of having a 24-person tournament, you have two 12-person tournaments that get, you know, 80% attendance, because that's typically how it works with just life. So, I mean, those are very real concerns, too, about having, you know, like I said, I think it's good that LSS supports both, but I do think that there are some logistical challenge from supporting both as well. That's really more where I was going, instead of the, you know, fighting about it.
That totally makes sense. I think that it's kind of nice. And so in the Twin Cities local community here, we've seen sort of the breadth of new games come and go. And it's kind of nice because DBS seems to be like what Fab feasibly will look like in 4 years. They're just like it's kind of like you get a little glimpse into the future of Fab, and what, at least for us and our community, right? So right now for DBS Saturdays, there is the full like best of 3 format, and that's being played, and people show up, and new players show up to that because that happens to be the style, or that's the game that they want to get in on. They want to play the full best of 3 experience. They come from Magic or whatever, and they're new. We still take our time with it. Like it's not like it's Classic Constructed, we play for keeps. It's like, no, like they're still new. This is just the format that we want to play. And we want to play best of 3s because it allows us to practice our sideboarding, because there's, you know, no sideboarding in best of 1s. So getting that opportunity and sitting down across from someone, we'll teach them like, hey, this is what you typically want to have in your sideboard. This is what you want to have. And you teach them that game or that format because they're there and that's what they want to play. Or they didn't realize it and they just accidentally showed up to the wrong, like, more serious format. And that's okay too. But there's multiple nights a week, and in Fab there's already multiple nights a week for us here. So I would like to see that sort of thing, because just because you're a new player doesn't mean you have to play Blitz. You can be a new player and want to play Classic Constructed because that's the game that interests you, and that's fine. I feel like right now there is a divide, or, you know, there's division in the community that I think that people aren't grasping, that like Blitz is just a separate format. It's not a new player format. There's been a lot of talk about how Blitz is a good entry point, and that's why their, you know, pre-con decks that they came out with this set are Blitz decks. It is a good entry point, absolutely. Doesn't need to be where you enter at. So I think that that's an important distinction too. That's
a really good statement, actually. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So I think we've indirectly hit all my points. Yeah. So I mean, I guess the, you know, the overall, I think here is that, you know, you don't have to be either. You don't have to be one or the other.
You don't.
And I mean, I'm not trying to lecture anybody. Like, you can say whatever you want, right? But you know, the community is going to be better off if we have more people, and as people collect their cards, they're going to start flexing between their formats, most of them, right? So let's all chillax. Don't worry. LSS is going to have their formal support for everything. And, you know, I mean, we could very well in 2 sets get another Crucible of War type set, and we'll be back in Blitz for another 6 months or whatever. But I mean, you know, we are currently going into skirmish season. The Gongai skirmish is going to be Blitz constructed. So, you know, I mean, we have formal support.
Yep. I mean, and skirmishes, I guess I don't know for sure about last skirmish season, but all of the skirmishes I played in, which was quite a few, were all Blitz. This skirmish season.
So you're doing it too.
There's a real decent amount of sealed and draft skirmishes, which I'm really excited for, because I really enjoy sealed and draft in this game. But I'm kind of happy that it's not just all Blitz or bust. You know, like I still get to participate in skirmishes, and I don't have to play Blitz. Not that it's a bad format. I am one of the players that's like, I could just get blown out and lose regardless, which, is not. I like the more I've got the time I can commit to a game. I want to get rewarded for that time invested, type of thing. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a little extra time, so let's go ahead and kind of, maybe somebody who's been listening through this and they're like, I don't understand necessarily, Dane, what you mean by getting blown out more. In Blitz. So, I mean, everyone understands that. Well, I think everyone understands the health difference and that, your swings are going to be more impactful there. But could you explain kind of the difference in play style and why that leads to blowouts versus not, or versus classic constructed?
Yeah, for sure. So there's two major aspects that lead to that sort of being how Blitz plays out, right? First is that you don't have the opportunity to change any of your deck build before a Blitz game. You have 40 cards, you have 11 equipment slots, and you've got your hero card, equipment and weapon slots in your hero card. But your 40 cards in your deck are static for Blitz. So you basically need to build like an all-comers deck. The issue with that is that leads to there being decks that do that better. There's decks that can handle, or just what they do is powerful enough to basically put an unfeasible amount of pressure onto the other person, and it doesn't matter what they're playing. Kano is an example of a deck. Ira is an example of a deck that just puts out so much pressure that they kind of don't care what they're playing into. There's definitely lines, and I'm not saying that it's like a helmet format by any means, but I'm just saying that exists in Blitz because it doesn't have what Classic Constructed has, and what that is 15 feasibly card sideboard, because if you take very minimal equipment, you've got 80 cards total, not including your hero, to have whatever equipment, whatever cards you want, not above your playset limit, but whatever cards you want to bring to be able to prepare. And then before your match, you trim that down to 60. Of those 80 cards, these are the 60 that I want in my deck, and this is the equipment that I want to run. So like my Prism deck right now, I think I've got it to 75, 74 cards. I've got 6 equipment that I swap, pick whatever 4 I want of those 6 equipment, and then I've got 14 cards that I use to swap in and out of my deck for my 60, depending on who I'm playing. And what that allows for is just a little bit more balance. Like, you have to play a better, cleaner game in order to win, because you don't just lose into X, Y, or Z. You now get the opportunity to play into it. So that's the first thing that Blitz doesn't have that makes it more of like a crapshoot. And I'm sorry if I'm talking too long here. If you have any points, please jump in. But the second thing, and I think the equally important thing, is that the life total is a lot less forgiving. So if you there are, as in any game, God hands where you just draw the nuts and you can put out a really explosive turn. If you do that in Classic Constructed, it's like, oh no, that happened, but they used a lot of their resources. They, like, those cards aren't going to come back around, though. Like, I weathered it. I can start to rebuild, push back pressure, start to gain back some of that momentum or tempo. In Blitz, that could be game. Like, it's very feasibly, that puts you at a life total where you now need to dump your hand, or a good amount of your hand, every attack, because they've put you at such low life that there is no recovering from that. And that doesn't exist in Classic Constructed, like in the earlier parts of the game. There's always a chance for you to start to build your tempo and start to build your game plan to win with what your deck's objective is. There's not necessarily that. Like, there is a game, Jason, I think the best example is Jason played Kano into Rhinar, and Rhinar opened a turn where he intimidated Kano's hand away and hit him for 16. It's like, okay, well, it was literally a turn 1, literally nothing Jason could do, because he happened to draw into like 3 reds and a blue, and so he couldn't do his Kano instant to try and like clap back or do anything before the Intimidates went off, and Rhinar just hit him. It's like that doesn't happen in Classic Constructed, happens in Blitz. So that's what I'm talking about by like the blowout turns.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, I think the one thing I'd like to add there is that the impact of your pop equipment becomes significant, right? I mean, the best example I think right now is Dreamweavers, right? I mean, if you pull off a Phantasmify Dreamweavers in Blitz, that's, 12, 13 points.
Yeah, that's an insane.
Actually, I think it's 12. Best case, it's usually 12 points, but still, 12 points coming across the table. In both games, you only get that equipment. Courage of Blade Hold, you only get your one Courage turn. You only get your one one Dreamweaver's turn.
And in Blitz, that's all you. A lot of times, that's all you.
Yeah,
need,
yeah, exactly.
If you've got the cross strap that makes your next attack cost 2 less, and the Dreamweavers, and a pummel in hand, and a Phantasmify in arsenal, it's like, all right, I'm gonna hit you for your life total right now, right? So yeah, that doesn't. If you do that, the thing is that in Classic Constructed, if you do that, you're 2 equipment down, and they weren't block equipment anyways. And you've used up that, and you still have, 28 life to eat through. So that's great. I'm glad that you had your, cute little turn, but now we're going to go back to playing the tempo game and see if you can keep that up, which they can't. Plot twist. So, yeah. Main differences.
Cool. All right. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Like I said, it was a good opportunity for a point counterpoint type of discussion. So we had to have you on for this one. So why don't you tell people where they can find you in your day job, and your other job, and
yeah. Well, you can definitely check us out if you were at all interested in my points. I feel like we didn't have too many counterpoints. No. Like we basically agreed across the board. But you can check us out on Outcast Haven, youtube.com/OutcastHaven. Is it / or backslash? I always get those actually.
Backslash. There we go.
Backslash Outcast Haven.
You could just say slash and be safe. Just say slash and be safe.
It's too late at night for me to have thought through that. So check us out, /Outcast Haven on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, all the same. No parentheses, no spaces, or anything like that. We do a lot of discussion on meta, on what we're playing, what we found is working for us. We do a Tuesday night live stream every week at 9:30 Central Time. And then we do a podcast that comes out Friday morning, usually 9 to 10:30ish, depending on when we can finalize the editing on it. So that is our weekly, and then amidst all of that, we'll throw out gameplay videos, deck techs, stuff like that as they come up. So right now we're doing like the 1.0 series, which funny enough, we had a little not conflict, but like we saw that you put out like your 1.0, or we put out our 1.0, and we're like, hey, we did that too.
Yeah, I'm at 1.3 right now, but on both end, but yeah.
Yeah. We're about to put our 1.0 out, so you're 0.3 ahead of us. That's all right. We'll make up ground.
Just means I've lost 0.3 more games. So.
So definitely recommend that you hit the bell on our channel if you're going to, because we kind of have a smattering outside of the very standard Tuesday night, Friday mornings. But yeah, that's us in a nutshell.
Cool. Yeah, and I enjoy hanging out with the guys. I got my rear end hand. Actually, you and I were having a pretty good game until I drew that hand of all defend reacts into your Command and Conquer.
Oh, God. Yeah.
But, no, great.
It was fun having you on this week.
Yeah, no, I enjoy playing with you guys. I'm going to get up to you guys in, so my wife's family lives in Waukesha, so I'm going to get up to you guys at some point.
Oh, nice.
That's my goal. So it's still quite a drive, but we'll make it happen at some point. So, but we'll do it during the summer for sure. So, all right. Well, just wanted to remind everybody again. Thank everybody for joining. Remind you that hey, singles, and actually right now singles they're getting cheaper by the minute. So if you are looking to load up with, especially when unlimited hits here very shortly, head over to my buddy at Fab Foundry. You can use the link below, and please use the link below, because when you buy using that link, I get a little kickback from him. Helps me keep my cardboard crack addiction going. And then when you are looking for those sealed packs, my buddies over at Gungai Games, they are my LGS. I don't see anything for the code Commando10, which will get you 10% off, but it does help keep them in business, keep the lights on, and helps them have awesome stuff like the Skirmish that we are hosting in person. That's right, baby, in person here, coming very shortly. So anyway, with that said, thanks folks for joining. Dane, we're gonna have you back here I don't know if we're gonna shoot it after this or not, but we'll have you back here in a couple weeks, or in a couple episodes, I should say, to have some other stuff. And thank you, sir, for joining. Nothing else, folks.
Yeah.
Go Commando.
My pleasure.
Say it.
Go Commando.
There we go.